Ah, the nice cold autumn air. To many, a relaxing, joyous time. To others, sad boy hour. To cure my early seasonal depression this year, I decided to go back in time to a simpler era. One of my parents' divorce and my childhood home burning down. One of Flash games like I used to play as a child. That's all. The first game that I found that I used to play as a child is called Gunblood. Essentially all this game is an old Wild West duel simulator, and even by today's standards, it was pretty interesting. Extremely simple, but very interesting. I gotta say, this game is actually a lot of fun, and I would be lying if I said I wasn't nervous every time the countdown started right before you drew. This little game is very short, but not only are you dueling other contestants, you're actually having these little mini games as well, which can be quite fun. And of course, on my first time playing it since God knows when, I actually got to the 8th level, and there's only like 9 of those. Unfortunately though, the 8th level proved to be challenging. But honestly, Gunblood held up better than I thought it was going to. I would say this is a good 8 out of 10 Flash game. Next up, we have a personal favorite of a young rat knight, Age of War. Age of War is a base defense game where you create units, you can create turrets. I'm sure there's a word for the type of game that this is, but I'm just going to call it a whole lot of fun. But while playing Age of War, I thought to myself, something's missing. You can upgrade your units and things like that, and then I realized that there is Age of War 2, and if you didn't play Age of War 2 as a child, then I don't even think you're a living creature. Essentially, you and your AI opponent start with the exact same technology, same type of base and things like that, and then you advance through technology and years and yada yada, and it's a hell of a lot of fun. And it can also make for some funny, quirky little situations, such as my 2 medieval musketeers and modern-day soldier gunning down a medieval clubman with their weapons. Plus, I ended up defeating the AI before they even got out of the medieval era. I mean, I was on easy mode, but 10 out of 10. Next up though, we have Shopping Cart Hero 2, which as a child I remember being just amazing. But unfortunately, as an adult, I don't think it held up so well over the years. Now, I think there's some newer ones and whatnot, but this one was my favorite as a kid. There's a whole bunch of upgrades for your shopping cart, and you get money by going further, doing tricks, and things like that. But I don't know if it's just me or what, but by the time I got to like 14 or 15 jumps in, I felt like I was still making a very tiny amount of money, and there really wasn't much I could unlock. I had finally saved up enough money for a groupie, which gave me extra style points, which would end up giving me more money. Unfortunately though, she died upon impact and I got sad and quit. Unfortunately though, all in all, the game just didn't really hold up to expectations like I remember as a child, so I'm sorry. 6 out of 10. Next up we have the game Seizure, which as a child, honestly I don't have too many memories of, just a few faint ones, and after playing for a while I could see why. Starting off, the game was a little bit mindless, to be honest with you, or at least that's how I felt about it. It's a point and click kind of puzzle game, I guess, strategy thing. There are a bunch of different levels though, and as the levels go on, it does get a bit more interesting. You actually have some friendlies that you have to avoid killing. You also end up gaining access to different types of siege ball, cannonball things, like this acid one, which is pretty interesting. But all in all, I'm not too big into puzzle strategy game things like this anymore, and I got bored pretty quick. But you know what? 7 out of 10. It was fairly fun. But honestly, you know, at this point, with the last 2 games kind of being a bit of a bummer, I was beginning to wonder, am I even curing my seasonal depression, or am I making it worse? Truthfully, I have no idea, but our next game is called City Siege. This game was a personal favorite of mine as a child. I remember playing it one time and then I couldn't remember the name and I would have to go through the website over and over looking for it. It was just great, and honestly I gotta say, it held up pretty great as well. You get money in this game by completing missions where you try to save civilians and yada yada. Typical standard 2000s army stuff. Something that makes the game super fun though is the fact that you gain money pretty quickly. It was within minutes and I had someone with a rifle and then also someone with a rocket launcher. The fact that you could give your little soldiers custom names as well was a big hit with me as a kid and also now as well. I love customization. I also love just blowing up anything and everything, and even the fact that you kill civilians. I know this sounds horrible, but it was okay, you still won the mission. But all in all, a super fun game all around. Plenty of upgrades, plenty of shit to do, and just a hell of of a good time. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. I also wanted to mention that it was on this game I realized that people were leaving like reviews and comments on these, and they're from like 8, 9, and 10 years ago, which made me super sad and made me feel old as shit, but it was still really cool seeing these comments. Especially this one in particular, because I feel like this is a child, this is something I probably would have done, where they couldn't say the word shit, so they put an exclamation point in there. I don't know, I really love that. I thought that was nice. And of course, I'm sure you guys are wondering, but I'm using y8.com for all of these Slash games. I know there's a lot of websites you can use, but y8.com was my go-to back in the day, and that's why I'm using it today, and it didn't let me down. Next up, we have the game called Murloc. I have no idea if this was actually made by Blizzard or not, but it does have a game disclaimer thing down here that says Blizzard, so maybe. And I'm going to be very honest and transparent. A young rat knight loved this game, and I don't know why at all. I mean, for the love of God, please look at this. Look, I remember it looking much better, I swear. Now look, I get it. For the time, it looked pretty good, I suppose. Most games look like this, of course, back then on the computer, but it just doesn't hold up very well now. I forgot what the game was about, but the first line of dialogue told me to find the chief of the camp's tent, and somehow I passed it up and almost got lost. I turned around though, found the tent, talked to the guards for a second, and then they let me in. I spoke to the chief, and I realized at this point that this game has a lot of talking. But anyways, he gave me a knife and told me to go kill a wolf, and I was really excited because I remember as a child, that was the exhilarating part, is the fighting. Yeah, so it wasn't exactly as great as I remember it being as a child, nor does it look as great as I remember it looking as a child, but to be honest with you, it still kind of has that charismatic charm of some of the older games like this, the dungeon crawler games. It gives me vibes of Fate, Fate the Traitor Soul and stuff like that. If you guys ever played that, plays that, you know, as a kid, so it kind of reminds me of that. And you know what, for that, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. But of course, I want to thank you guys all ever so much for watching today's video. I hope you've enjoyed. If this video does well, we may end up doing some more of this. I'm not gonna lie. Of course, I don't really expect this video to do all that well, unfortunately, because this is a RimWorld channel, of course, and you guys tend to not want to stray from RimWorld very much, and I get that, you know, whatever. But if you guys do enjoy this, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below. Be sure to like, subscribe, all that stuff. That way I know that you like it, and if it does really well, maybe we'll do some more. Who knows? Be sure to let me know in the comment section, though, if you have any Flash games that you'd like for me to try, or if there's any that you feel that I missed that are just essential to your childhood. Be sure to tell me how big of a dum-dum I am and how I should have played those. But I love you guys ever so much. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.